Welcome to Book Time with Ryan. I am Ryan, and today I'll be talking about Monarch by Ryan Steck. Hey, it's another Ryan. I love this book. I'm going to tell you right now, 5 stars. Loved it. And there's a little bit more going on here than just loving this book. Obviously, it says Ted Bell at the top. And Ted Bell fans know that Ted Bell passed away a few years ago. I have a video just kind of memorializing on my channel Ted Bell. Ted Bell meant a lot to me. Really got me into reading. I've said this before. Basically say this anytime I mention Ted Bell, so I won't do this as much in the future. But I'm dyslexic. I didn't really read growing up. Didn't really read in college. I definitely didn't read for pleasure. And I was in the Coast Guard and about to get underway, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to buy this book called Pirate. That's why I'm wearing my Pirates jacket. So I read this book, Pirate, while I was underway, and I loved it. And my parents sent me more of these Ted Bell books, a new author I didn't know. There was even a mention of the Coast Guard in the book. And I just loved it. It got me back into reading, and from there I read more books, and now I have a BookTube channel. A very successful BookTube channel. But it all started with Ted. And then Ted went on a trip with me. He was nominated by the Coast Guard, called the Joint Civilian Orientation Conference. It's an outreach program through the Department of Defense. That's why on my thumbnail there was a coin from the Joint Civilian Orientation Conference. Yeah, so I got to spend a week with Ted. He was awesome, super nice guy. We stayed in touch. He made me a character in 2 of his books and referenced my ship in a 3rd book. And it was like a dream come true. And then we stayed in touch. And then a few years ago he died. And it was the end of the Alex Hawke novels, which was, in addition to losing Ted, you also felt like you were losing more than that because you lost the characters that you fell in love with. Little did I know that another huge Ted Bell fan, huge Ted Bell fan who loved Ted, and got so much support from Ted when he started writing, was going to pick up the series and continue on Ted's legacy through the Alex Hawke novels, and that is Ryan Steck. That's why it's Ted Bell's Monarch, Alex Hawke. This is not in. There we go. Now it's in focus. An Alex Hawke novel by Ryan Steck. Ryan Steck knew Ted, loved Ted, and has done such a great job taking over in this first novel, this first Alex Hawke novel since Ted's passing. And I gotta say, I've talked to Ryan, and I haven't read his other books yet, but I will. And I felt like there was probably pressure to kind of, take over something that you've loved, by somebody that you loved, and then try to continue it on in a faithful way, in a way the readers would appreciate. It is not easy. Oh, I haven't done it. But I would venture to guess that it is not an easy thing. It is a tough undertaking. And he did it. I went into it hoping that he could do it, and he did. I think he captures Ted's approach to the characters and the stories. I think he, as much as you could hope for, has Ted's voice. And that means a lot. I think. I mean, it could have been done a different way, right? It could have been done in his own voice, and that would have taken maybe a little bit of adjusting for Ted Bell fans. But somehow he did it so it really sounds like Ted wrote this. And that's awesome. There's another book coming. And so we have that to look forward to, probably next year. But I loved it. I loved it. I thought it really brought Alex Hawke back to life. And I think for this first novel taking over Alex Hawke, it did a good job of easing us into Ryan Steck style and reassuring us that he understands the characters and he understands the world that Alex Hawke is in, and was true to that series. And just so excited that it's going on. So what happens in this book? Well, this is it was written so you could pick it up as the first book you've read, but also there are so many references to prior Alex Hawke books. There's even a reference to Greybeard Island, which is a crossover, the first crossover, I believe, from the Alex Hawke novels to the other two books that Alex wrote that were young adult books, Nick of Time and Time Pirate. So there were references in those books to Alex Hawke, but there haven't been references the other way. And this book does that. So that was cool. What's happening in this book? This is picking up where we left off. I don't know how soon after the last book, but within a year or two. And we have an Alex Hawke who is ready to settle down, we think, but maybe not, with his future wife, Anastasia, who has been the subject of a couple other books, or not the subject, but has been in a couple other books. His son, Alexei, and they're at Tea Kettle Cottage in Bermuda. And the idea now is that Alex has been through a lot, and it's time for him to just settle down and live the family life. But can he do that? Because he is a man of action, he is a man of war, and it's not clear that he can really settle down. And we're going to have those questions, if not answered, at least posed and debated during the book. Actually, no, I said it started with him settling down. No, it starts with this huge action sequence in the Southern Oceans, just coming out of the South Sea and Antarctica, and an attack on a base there, an illegal base there, and surviving the process of getting out of there, and in the process losing Seahawk, the ship, the very cool, high-tech, personal/military yacht. So that's what we start with. That's the prologue. But we kind of get into the tempo in chapter 2. I think it's technically chapter 1, the second chapter of the book. And Hawke may be settling down. He's getting prepared for her family life. And then we find out that something has happened. What has happened? Well, I'm not going to give away too much, but I think this is probably known. The King Charles of the UK, King Charles, is kidnapped. He's abducted. The scene for that is very stressful. It was suspenseful. I did feel like I was on the edge of my seat throughout this book. I need to convey that I did not want to put this book down. It was all the action and the suspense that I had hoped for, delivered 1,000 times more than I thought might happen, and it was great, so great. But Charles goes missing. Charles goes missing to the world. We, as the reader, will check in with him as he's being held hostage. And there's some plot, but we're not exactly sure what it is. And it has something to do with a Scottish independence referendum and the coming vote in Parliament for that. And really, by the end of the book, we're not 100% sure all the reasons behind what happened. Because we're left with some questions. Maybe those will be answered in the next book, maybe not, I don't know. But it makes it definitely hard to wait for another book for a year. Now, we lose Charles under the protection of this organization, the Parliamentary and Diplomatic Protection, PADP. This one's specifically from number 10 Downing Street. Ooh. And a number of people from the Metropolitan Police in London. So, there's a few different storylines that involve our favorite characters, Stokely Jones Jr., Harry Brock. Let me just say, I do appreciate the way he treated Harry Brock, too. I feel like in past novels, Harry Brock sometimes looks like, I won't say an idiot, but he definitely has some flaws. He still has flaws, but I feel like he made up for those flaws in some of the things he did in this book, which is, I felt like was a positive thing for Harry. We also have, of course, Congreve Ambrose and True Love and Pippa and who else? Am I forgetting somebody? Those are the main action guys. There's a couple different storylines. There's one that's set in Cuba at the beginning. There's the stuff going on in Scotland, and then kind of like a split off between kind of the team that goes north with Ross Sutherland and Ambrose going to Northern Ireland, and Alex Hawke and Pippa going to a few places, but ending up in Germany. And then those stories kind of come together, and by the end you realize there's some connections. Not everyone that's involved with those different storylines realizes there's a greater conspiracy going on, but they figure it out. And then there's a really big action scene, a few action scenes coming to a close at the end, and stuff happens. And stuff happens in a way that some questions are answered, but there are a lot of questions left. And there's something bigger going on in this Alex Hawke world than we understand by the end of Monarch. And some of those questions may be answered in the next book. I know that there's another book coming, so I can't wait for that. But just a great experience seeing what Ryan Steck did with Ted Bell's series, and feeling confident that Ted Bell's Alex Hawke is in good hands. That the characters that I've grown to love are in good hands. And we are going to lose a character in this book. I'm not going to say who it is, but I also respect the ability of Ryan to be willing to kill off a character here and there, because we don't want to get complacent with our characters. So, Monarch by Ryan Steck. Check it out. Read it. It's awesome. I love this book too. It's a nice cover. Nice and thick. How many pages? Let's see here. I can figure that out. 453. So it's not short, but it reads fast. It's just, you want to keep going. You want to figure out what's going to happen. And that's not always easy to get people to want to do. Definitely happens here for me. I think it'll happen for you. Awesome. Oh, I forgot. So I have interacted with Ryan, and he wrote in the acknowledgments a little thing for me, which I was very excited about. It meant a lot. So thanks, Ryan, for doing that. I didn't expect it, but it was very cool to find it out. To Ryan White, a fan of Ted's, thank you for your willingness to talk about the books and lend your perspective on the characters and series as a whole. Ryan was one of the very first people I told after signing my contract to write Monarch, and his enthusiasm meant a great deal to me. That's so cool. Thank you, Ryan. Awesome. I bought this book from Barnes & Noble. It was supposed to come out on a Tuesday. I think I got it on a Friday. Like the Friday before it's supposed to come out. So I had it before. I mean, I don't know how it works. I think a book, once, unless it's given some kind of restriction on when it can be added to the shelves. Some books, if they come in and they don't have that restriction, as soon as the bookstore gets it, they can put it up. And I guess that's what happened with this. Maybe Barnes & Noble messed up. I'm not sure if I would have been able to pay for it if there was some restriction on it. I don't know. I got it ahead of time, but there was a lot going on that weekend, so I started it, but really started getting into it by the beginning of the week. And man, it was like 2 days, 3 days maybe, for me, super fast to read it that quickly. But it was maybe more than 3 days, 4 days. I don't know. The only reason I didn't read it faster is other things going on. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have eaten or had any sleep and just read because it was that fun. So check it out. Ted Bell's Monarch by Ryan Steck. Ryan, you did it. You did it. Alex Hawke and his friends are in good hands, thanks to you. And I know that Ted would be happy with how this turned out. Have a good one. Bye. Welcome home.